We are on the drink.
It's on. So we're at the drink right now. We're at Last Week Brewery. They're nice enough to have the show here. So we actually have one of their own right here, right behind me. Nick, take it away, man. Can you thank you very much for, having the show here. Just, tell us a little bit about the Last Week Brewery really quick,
All right, yeah, Last Wave Brewing Company opened last May of 2017. It's me and my business partner Bert and his wife Danny. Been working on this for a long time. Big fans of surfing and obviously the environment. And
That's awesome.
we figured a brew is a great way to find a way to be able to live at the beach in the Jersey Shore, do something we love, and be able to surf and live our lives. So we make figure anywhere from 10 to 12 beers we have currently on tap and over bars all over Monmouth and Ocean County, and we're going pretty good right now. So we're happy to have everybody here.
Well, thank you for having us, and thanks for having the drinks here.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's right.
And this one, I think this is the Red Sky, I believe.
Yeah, Red Sky is one of our most popular beers. It's a pretty simple, like malty. It's not really an Irish ale, but it's in that realm where it's a lot of caramel sweetness. It's well balanced. It's just a great beer that you can drink pretty much any time of year. It's one of the first beers me and Bert made too as homebrewers.
Really?
That like the recipe really came together where I think people weren't humoring us and being like, oh, like people enjoyed it and we tweaked the recipe, but it kind of went back to the original form. And like I said, it's been a great seller for us. It's
Green room seems like pretty hoppy.
Yeah. Like I said, all of our beers are obviously surf themed. So Green Room is a ode to the those lovely barrels we get here in the winter. So it's like a more aggressive, hoppy, earthy, kind of like a West Coast style where it's more green flavored hops. And then we have A-Frame, which is kind of like the wheat, juicy, citrus forward IPA. So we kind of split them that way, the A-Frame and Green Room. Two different styles of waves, two different styles of IPAs. And
That's awesome. So before we just started the show, you said that your beer's organic or something like that?
Well, some of the ingredients we try to use,
Some
like I
of
said,
them, yeah.
I mean, we get them through Woodstock Farms, which is based out of New Jersey. But they get them from organic, non-GMO farms. Sometimes like in Sri Lanka, they come from all over. But like I said, we're obviously pretty. We have all glass here. We don't do plastic bags for takeaway. We use any cardboard. We try to still focus on, like I said, I've been with Surf Rider for 4 or 5 years too, so we try to kind of live that.
Yeah,
you gotta, like I said, you gotta shop local, support local, and think about what you're doing in the environment when you're doing it. So
Exactly, man.
yeah. So we're happy to host. We've done some wetsuit recycling. Obviously, we've helped Surf Rider host stuff, donated stuff whenever we could. So
Yeah, last time I was here, it was during the holiday party. I filmed it. And,
yeah.
Which was smashingly successful.
Yeah, like I said, that was one of the better nights we've had. Yeah.
A crap load of people here too. It was awesome.
Yeah,
was pretty
a
fun.
lot of good people. Yeah,
No, it was.
a lot
It
of
was
good
awesome.
people. Yeah, like I said, and we've done some other stuff. We actually donated kegs. Langosta Lounge up in Asbury Park hosted a thing for Puerto Rico, a charity. So we donated some kegs to that and some,
That's awesome.
stuff like that. So we're
Yeah, we
always,
even did a little rain barrel auction.
yeah.
A little raffle.
Yeah, we tried to mix it up, like I said, and give back to the community because Point Pleasant's a great town. The town's been great, so
Oh, yeah.
people here are awesome
Definitely.
and they support it, and
Well, like I said again, thank you so much for having us on the show.
Yeah.
man. Thank you so much for having the show here as well.
yeah.
So,
Well, that's John's help too. Like I said,
yeah, man.
the Surf Rider team's advocating for us all over the place. So we're happy.
There you
We're
go.
happy
There
to
you
keep it
go.
going.
If you had to, do other.
No, we're
All
all
right,
right.
go brew beer. Go
Yeah, I was
No,
gonna say,
no.
if you have to go brew beer, then go
No,
for it.
I'm
But,
good now. I actually just quit my day job on Friday, so
Oh, really?
yeah, that's how good it's been going. So
wow.
got
What was
a little
your
more
day job?
time the week. Digital marketing, SEO,
Really?
content writing. Yeah.
We may have to talk later about that.
Yeah, yeah, and Bert, my business partner, is web design and development, so he built this stuff from scratch. And
Oh wow.
like
That's
I said,
awesome.
it's been wish one of us was a lawyer. That would have helped us save a lot
Yeah,
of money. But,
That would be.
or I wish
very
I would have
good
known
time.
that we had all these city planners in the Surf Rider organization. That would have saved me money too. But,
Yeah, right. All right. Well, going to John over here. Sure. Thank you very much for being on the show, man. Seriously, thank you. So just like for all of us, just to kind of go over what your role is at Surfrider, kind of, briefly describe what Surfrider is and everything like that.
So Surfrider is a national group. Its mission is the protection and enjoyment of the world's oceans, waves, and beaches. It's pretty simple. We're not all surfers, but it was founded by surfers. A lot of us happen to be surfers. So Surfrider's strength comes from its chapters, which is they're run all by volunteers. So Nick was, as he was saying, was a great volunteer for the Jersey Shore chapter. He had his day job, and he had this. He went into hiding as he started the brewery here, but he reemerged and has been helping the chapter ever since, which is cool.
What's up, man?
So my job is to help the all-volunteer chapters in the Mid-Atlantic. So I was a volunteer here in New Jersey for years. I did every job that the chapter had, but Surfrider started a model where they hire somebody in a region to help those all-volunteer chapters. So I was actually their first hire on the East Coast, but now I just help the chapters in the Mid-Atlantic. So it's New York to Virginia. And I'm actually wearing Virginia Beach chapter t-shirt here.
Shout out.
Yeah, exactly. They made some nice shirts. So, I just help the chapters, and it's my day job. I work from home when I'm not on the road seeing the chapters or, something like that. But if there's some kind of hearing or something in the middle of the day, it's like chapter volunteers are probably working. Maybe a couple can come out, but I'm sort of like, that's why I have a job, so I can cover that stuff, important stuff during the day.
Awesome. So so what's your current position now on Surfrider?
I'm actually called a regional manager again, so helping the chapters in a particular region. So 9 chapters in the Mid-Atlantic, from New York to Virginia Beach. They're my chapters, or I'm there.
Chapters?
Or I'm there.
He's like the shepherd. Yeah, he's kind of like the shepherd, kind of guiding everybody. Kind of helping figure out, what we should be focusing on for our local community. What programs we should be focused on if there are any issues, or like I said, right now another thing's coming back off is offshore oil drilling on the East Coast. So John's job is kind of like to make sure we're like focusing on things we can make an impact on, and trying to harness all the groups to make a coordinated effort, basically. So we
definitely
have a focus on important issues.
And speaking of offshore drilling, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I can tell you a lot about it.
They can tell you a lot.
Unfortunately,
Briefly,
we actually had to do this last year under the Obama administration. They thought that they would open up some of the East Coast to maybe a little bit of offshore oil drilling, and they looked at it closely and they decided not to, but that's only after there was a massive show against it from communities up and down the coast and groups like
from both sides, not just, it was from both sides of the aisle too.
Yeah.
Like nobody really on the East Coast is
even in the deep South, like South Carolina and places like that, they didn't want it. Some of those communities. So we did that again in the Obama administration. Unfortunately, we've had to do it all over again with the Trump administration. They have come out with a plan that could potentially include 90% of the offshore waters off the United States.
It is 90%?
It is, yeah.
That's what I've been hearing.
That's their sort of starting bid. Our goal is to get everything taken off the table, but they're starting with, let's look at everything.
Yeah.
And it's a great example of what we would call a national campaign, because Surfrider's strength again is like local chapters, but this affects pretty much every chapter. So we all want every local chapter to do their part, play their part, fight it locally, organize local opposition. So that could mean towns writing resolutions against it. Some chapters are out there gathering them, or the chapters going out to these public meetings that the federal government's holding and saying, hey, we don't want this offshore oil drilling. So it's all of that together.
So why are they trying to do the offshore drilling though? I mean, from my understanding, it's like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's like 3 miles off the coast and stuff like that. I've done a little bit of research, but
absolutely. So federal waters start 3 miles out. So potentially could be anywhere from 3 miles out and beyond to 200, which is kind of where the federal government's jurisdiction is. The feds are saying that they would put a 25-mile buffer, so nothing closer than 25 miles, as if that were to placate us and we'd be okay with that.
I just feel like the distance doesn't really.
Right.
You might not see it from shore, but the dangers are still right there.
Oh well, that's what.
Wind,
exactly.
currents, all that stuff. I mean, even back when they were just proposing a slice near Virginia, it's 100 miles from Cape May. That's just too close to New Jersey. It's not acceptable. So we just said we're against it. So why are they doing this? To answer your question, it's a good question because there's probably not that much oil out there. There's maybe a good deal of natural gas,
I was
but
gonna say, I from my understanding, there's only like maybe a week, maybe a couple, like a month worth.
well,
of,
if you could instantly get all the oil out of the offshore reserves, like maybe it would last the United States a year, but it's
Oh, okay.
literally
That-
gonna
and
it
it
literally
is.
would take us 20 years to get it.
It's very deep. It's
Oh,
not
so
like
then it's
easily
pretty much
accessible.
like counterproductive.
So
in
you'd
a
have
way.
that threat
It's-
of oil spills and stuff for 20 years just to get, again, a year's worth of oil, and that's at current consumption. So there's
So
lots of
gas
reasons
prices might go down for a year, they go
Yeah.
back up.
Yeah, it's,
Like,
well, I mean,
it's-
this is the irony. Like, as gas prices are low, oil prices are relatively low in the grand scheme of things. It's not that worthwhile for them to go after that stuff. So it's kind of crazy. Like, why are they doing this? Other than the Trump administration has this, everything from the days of old is good, like oil and coal and things like that. And it's especially perplexing because right now I feel like we're on the precipice of
Yeah.
renewables are really coming into their own. I mean,
Yeah.
in 5 years, everybody and their mother's going to be driving an electric car, and I mean that. That's just like we are this close to that being just everywhere.
Yeah,
So it's really
yeah.
curious why they are doing
Yeah.
it, and it's a big pain in the butt because the last administration looked closely at it and said, no, nothing's changed. The science isn't going to change. The oil that's out there isn't going to change. But we have to fight this fight all over again.
And we will.
well, yeah, we'll continue
will.
fighting. But so I'm just gonna introduce Ken really quick, just so everyone knows. So
Everybody knows who we are.
yeah, right. So Ken, just kind of like introduce yourself a little bit. Give us a little brief description on what you do.
Okay.
So
Well, my name is Ken. I was actually your psychology professor.
you were
about 4 years ago.
around 4,
4
yeah.
years ago.
That's how we met. You were my teacher.
Yep.
Great
Since
teacher,
then,
by the way.
Since then, I've moved on from teaching, and I work for a nonprofit, the Arc of Ocean County. I work in the vocational department, assisting individuals with intellectual developmental disabilities, finding employment and becoming, valuable members of the community throughout Ocean County. Now, the Arc is a national program, so there's one just about in every county throughout the United States. But the Arc of Ocean happens to be one of the largest. We have about 1,500 individuals that we service throughout Ocean County.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's
Yeah.
fun work.
There you go. There you go. So just to ask you a question, with the whole offshore drilling kind of thing, what do you think? I guess what I'm trying to say is what would you, from your perspective, maybe do you think it's viable to do, or are you totally against it, or what
To be 100% honest, I really don't know as much about it
Yeah.
as somebody probably should, as the average consumer should. But considering myself the average consumer, takes into account things like, I just learned that if there's only 1 year's worth of oil out there, that's not worth it, And then the coastal towns, so far as I know, I've been up and down the coast, I'm not going to say it's all environmental, hugging tree hippies and all that, but it's very environmentally conscious on the East Coast especially. Not to say anything, about the West Coast in comparison, but, we've always been very proud of our waters, and we've always been very proud of our oceans, and the last thing we want is somebody to come in and say, I'm building this here. Whether or not we're going to see it, 25, anywhere from 3 to 25 miles offshore, probably not going to see it, but still, there's a lot of boats that come through here. There's a lot of planes that fly overhead. We've got a very valuable, beautiful seascape that people, I've grown up around Point Pleasant Beach, my entire life, and it's called Point Pleasant Beach because of the beach. We're proud of that. We can't. The psychological mindset is you have somebody come in practically with eminent domain, which has never reacted well, to the individuals who are being eminently domained, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's going to happen to tourism, what's going to happen to, just the
What's gonna happen to fishing?
Yeah.
I mean, like
what's going to
it's
happen to the scape,
Yeah.
of what Point Pleasant is. Like, it's going to be, it's going to probably remain the same for a little while, but then it's like, and then there's this, like, mark, this scar on the shore that was put here by not us. Like, we didn't want it here. We adamantly fought against it, and now just to find out that it's going to be placed here no matter what we think, is going to create some real serious resistance. And then, I mean, especially after everything that happened in the Gulf of Mexico,
yeah, the
a few
BP
years
oil
ago,
spill, or like the, any kind of oil spill in general.
it
Honestly.
may have been, a while ago. I don't exactly know when it was, but like those images are still fresh in people's minds. Like when you mention the Gulf of Mexico,
They instantly
one
think
of the, if we're playing Family Feud, things relating to the Gulf of Mexico, one of those top three is going to be the BP oil spill, and you're going to see people thinking of, all the birds covered in oil and the dead fish just floating around. And I mean, I went to the Gulf of Mexico, and like there was oil washing up on shore. It looked like, it was disgusting. Like it just looked like not what you would think oil would look like.
So I take it you didn't really go swimming?
No. I did. Well, the funny thing is, I did actually go in because I was on the I was on the Gulf side. I was down by like Fort Myers.
Okay.
And I started to go in the water, and I noticed all this like stuff, and I just thought it was like sea foam, and I was like, that's weird to have sea foam like out here, but like, it is what it is. And then as it started washing past, I was like, oh my god, this is like solid. This is like a solid, gigantic, like.
It has matter to it.
Yeah, like I'm trying to describe exactly what it
Damn.
looked like. But like it was just gross, and like then you tried to go jogging on the beach, and you're not jogging on the beach. You're literally playing your own personal version of Minesweeper, like trying to avoid these gigantic blobs of oil that are just sitting there. Like, nobody wants
wow.
that. Like nobody wants that here.
Shit.
But yeah, like I said, a
Oh
lot
my
of
God,
people,
that's really
a lot of
fucking-
people's livelihoods depend on, like I said, that's why I think there's
One of the
uniform
reasons,
opposition against it. Is that, like I said, fishermen, people that have shops, for the summer, like this is the way people make a living along these coastlines, and that's why people are saying, hey, like wait a minute, like you're saying it's worth it, but where's this oil? We have a lot of natural gas already. It's looking like America wants to be an exporter of it, so we're, they're risking everyday American livelihoods to,
Yeah,
that's
there's
why we
just-
want to. That's why we want to say, hey, look at this. Like, who is this benefiting? Who's at risk here? Like I said, that really hurt the Mississippi Gulf Coast from a tourism perspective, which they really relied on. It's the same thing with the Jersey Shore.
Yeah, and that's exactly what is going to end up happening. I mean, what's Point Pleasant Boardwalk if
Yeah.
there's going to be
Nobody wants to go swimming or eat ice cream. Yeah.
Point Pleasant, Manasquan,
Like-
Belmar, like
I just
every
keep,
town.
I
like
just
every
keep-
town,
I just
like
keep
every
picking
town.
Point
Yeah,
Pleasant
yeah.
because that's where we
Right.
are.
well, yeah.
Like
For
picture
sure, yeah.
Seaside Beach if it smells like oil. If it smells like corroding oil, like there's no birds. And I
Well,
mean,
and not to even mention like, we said fishing before, but like a lot of us on the East Coast, like or in general, like just eat fish, and we're
now you're going to have to worry about is
eating
this
oil,
fresh-
plastic, all
Is
that
this
stuff.
fresh
And,
fish I caught? What is this fish been eating?
and is it fresh? You know what I'm saying? Like
Like Nick just mentioned, that's been one of the driving forces behind these communities passing these resolutions against it. It's like, well, on one side, people are promising. There's the promise of some oil jobs somewhere, wherever they decide
Yeah.
to bring this stuff in. There'll be some oil jobs.
Yeah.
But there's like, wait, there's real. Those are maybe one day in the future jobs. But there's plenty of people that have real deal jobs right now.
Yeah.
Like they own businesses. There's an entire economy in every single one of these towns, and it's just not worth it. So that's what's leading towns to pass resolutions saying we don't want it. So I'm kind of interested in the psychology of it all. If we all collectively say like we don't want this, Nick said both sides of the aisles. We've had Republican governors, Democratic governors, lawmakers of both political stripe saying like they don't want this, and then we have an administration trying to push it down our throats anyway. It's like I don't know the collective rage. I think that may happen.
Well,
The psychology of
hope
all
so,
that is
yeah.
very. I fear. I hope
It
they listen to
shows
us
that, yeah.
because I fear.
Yeah, like
the
I said, I mean,
alternative.
if everybody's saying one thing and you got, like I said, everybody's agreement that like this is important for us. Like I said, whether you're Republican or Democrat, you understand how important, jobs are. And like I said, putting a lot of people at risk if all of a sudden they're, New Jersey has one of the largest recreational fishing industries in the country. It's a big deal if all of a sudden nobody wants to go fishing.
And that's, to kind of piggyback on the whole jobs forecast, the jobs outlook and stuff like that. One of my areas of expertise within psychology is organizational psychology, the study of work, the study of businesses, the personality of businesses, and stuff like that. John mentioned oil jobs potentially coming down the road, but you really got to ask the question, like, who wants an oil job? If you were given the choice to fish for a living, and I'm not going to say that there are people out there who wouldn't want an oil job, and I'm not knocking that. But like when you think of a beach town and you think of a coastal area and you think of the barrier islands, you're not thinking, I'm going to move to Bayhead because I want to be an oil driller, an oil manufacturer. You move to Bayhead. Well, you move to Bayhead because it's a really nice place to spend your summer.
And that could change
There's
it.
a lot of snowbirds out this place. So,
Yeah. If I'm thinking I think of Point Pleasant Beach as a beach town. I think of beach jobs. I think of local businesses. I don't think of, large chain restaurants. I don't think of, I think of those small, private,
like mommy poppy shops or something like that.
And it works well here. Everybody's doing well. We got, like I said, all these.
Say,
you go
come
to any
from one
these
of yours
towns,
yourself,
Like I said, this town's great because everybody supports each other, and like I said, we have a good thing going, and people love to come here. Like I said, in the summers, this place is packed, and if all of a sudden something would happen, like that happened in the Gulf Coast, people aren't going to want to come here, and it's not the fault of everybody working hard here or the people that are going to would visit. It's the negligence of somebody saying we need this proposed oil or natural gas.
So then, if someone that's not totally environmentally enthusiastic or fanatic about defending the environment, then how would we be able to get involved and kind of voice our opinion or make a difference essentially?
On this oil drilling issue, our national office, surfrider.org, we have an action alert set up. You can just go to surfrider.org. There's a tab for take action, and you can find the one that lets you email your elected officials, your federal elected officials on this oil drilling issue, which would be great. And if in the next week or week and a half you see this podcast, you can come out to, there's a hearing by the federal government. It's not really a hearing, it's a public meeting about offshore oil drilling. It's going to happen in Hamilton, which is by Trenton, the big hotel, and they have what they call their public meeting open house about offshore oil drilling. It's on Valentine's Day, so come out and show some ocean love on beach love on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 3 to 7. And they have this set up where you can go and see what the federal government has to say about what they're proposing, and then you can either do your comments to the federal government about it right then and there, or you can come to the environmental groups that are having our press conference. We're going to have a press conference / rally, and we'd love there to be hundreds of people there just saying no, we don't want this. So come on.
Show your love and support for the ocean.
Yeah, and then another way to kind of target, again, considering myself the average consumer of the environment. I'm not somebody who's, I do my part, but I'm not part of organizations or, anything like that.
You do what you can.
I do what I can, exactly. One of the things that I'm currently working on my doctorate. One of the things that I was actually thinking about was how to report and discuss controversial topics on Facebook. One of the things that I've seen that's a real big turnoff for people is when we start getting super aggressive. The education is a conversation that you need to have with somebody, not you're wrong, you're thinking about it this way. Only stupid people want offshore drilling. You can't approach it that way. You cannot be aggressive. This is one area you don't want to be aggressive. And just say hey, listen, let's talk about this. Every once in a while, maybe on a weekend seems to be the best time, Sunday afternoon, put a post up and just be hey, people are thinking about offshore drilling. What are your thoughts about it? You can have your own thoughts and you can have your own set of beliefs. thought process about it. But like, start the conversation, because you're going to get a much better feedback and a much bigger following if you're speaking rather than telling. You're gonna get we all see these things about. I'm trying to think of like some good idea about this whole thing about the food we eat. Where does the food we eat come from? And processed food and this, that, and the other thing. There's that Netflix series Rotten, that tells you.
Oh, I heard about that.
The dangers of eating, chicken and whatnot.
And if you also want to watch What the Health, that's a good documentary too.
When you come out at people and say like, "Oh, you're drinking," I'm trying to think of the drink. We'll just say soda. You're drinking soda. That's so bad for you, and this is for you're making a stupid decision, and you. No.
That's like attacking them almost.
Yeah,
it's how you frame the discussion.
It's almost like people are going to say like, well, now I'm just going to continue drinking soda because
it's like not what you say, it's really like how you say it.
It's understanding the other person's point of view, and like I said, like at this point in America, we can't just stop drilling for oil. Like there's too many people depend on natural gas, same thing. But we do have to think about how can we become less dependent on it? And I think oil companies don't, they've built so much infrastructure and base around it that it would be tough for them to change and invest. But like I said, whether they want to or not, solar power, wind power is on the rise because it makes sense.
Growing exponentially right now, especially in New Jersey, especially like everywhere. Like
it's a viable option, and it seems like some of these tactics are repressive to letting it grow. Like if it's a viable industry, it should be allowed to grow and develop.
Like when you're an investor, I mean, obviously I'm not an investor, as you can tell, but what I'm saying is like if you're an investor, you're investing so much money into oil, and then like all of a sudden, like we said, like renewable energy is on the rise right now. Like like all your wallets over here, but then you're trying to do like risk management here. Like, okay, should I invest in that, or should I just stay with this and saturate the hell out of it until I can't anymore? Like, what I'm saying, like it's fork in the road, and they're trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah, it just reminds me of something else that the Trump administration did. They just put a tariff on imported solar panels from China, like a huge, I don't know if it was 30%, but it was a lot. It's going to make them a lot more expensive. And when I dug into that a little bit, it seemed particularly strange. Maybe there are some manufacturers who make a few solar panels in here in this country, but the vast majority of the solar jobs in this country are the people that are up there on roofs, installing them, like the actual installers. So
good, reliable jobs, too.
Right, and good paying. So a low expense, like a less costly product, like the less expensive solar panels from China, enable all those decent paying solar installation and all that kind of those management jobs. So it's really curious. Like maybe they protected a couple manufacturers, but that's not where the jobs were. So again, particularly curious why they went ahead and did that. And I just saw a stat yesterday. There's definitely more jobs in renewable energy. I guess that's all renewable energy than fossil fuels, than like oil and coal and stuff. So it's just kind of head scratching, but it's happening.
If you're trying to encourage industry growth, like I said, it's somewhere there are people. There's going to be jobs. It's at a certain point, like they're fighting, against a rising tide. Like I said, it's solar power makes sense.
Well, it also goes to and my last show, Ken actually sent me a little thing that he was going to say on the show, and it was pretty much talking about like people are afraid of change, and like I totally get it, and I'm just going to turn it down to Ken. I'm not going to steal his thunder or anything.
The thing with change is we get so comfortable with complacency that
like a routine.
We're not going to want to change. To be honest.
Like you said, it comes down to telling someone they have to change. Exactly. It's going to make them more resistant to it.
I have a car, I use oil, I use gas, so my car works, I don't have any problems with it. Why would I have to get another one? When you're telling me I have to get another one, as opposed to saying like, hey, listen, this is about a choice. Well, what is it about electrical cars, that you don't understand, or that you have an issue with, or why don't you want to change? And my answer is going to be because I don't have to right now.
If it's not broken, don't worry about it.
I don't have to fix it. But I do understand, that obviously it's not going to be good for the environment to continue use of my cars. So like, it's the difference between telling, asking, and having a conversation. You know, well, this is better for you when you're ready. You know, let's go through this together, not just you have to start using solar panels tomorrow. Here's the guidebook. You're on your own. You know, that's not going to have a tasty.
Yeah, that's gonna be sour tasty, and no one's gonna like that.
And then they're going to resent
The offer, the
the construct of solar panels.
The concept,
just because it came with this negative attitude of you have to accept this or else. You know, and I think then it's bad on the solar panels versus the people who are telling them to use the solar panels.
Yeah, it puts a bad taste, a bad impression.
Yeah.
It's just bad overall. So no one likes bad. You're gonna go somewhere else. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, I totally get that. Thank you for that.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, right. But we were talking about like oceans and the beach, like you said, going in the water and everything. John, you said you had like a fin or something like that. I just want to like know a little bit more about it.
Sure. So Surfrider's involved in this new project. It's called SmartFin, and this is a SmartFin, and it's in conjunction with the Scripps Institute of Technology, which is in San Diego. And the idea on the SmartFin right now is that this is going to be a way for people to do citizen science, just for regular people to collect data that could have huge implications for global warming. Collecting data about climate change. So I got my SmartFin here, and this is charging it. I just hooked it up to my computer. Let me stop moving for a second. Hopefully the camera will catch this. So I'm just going to charge it up. So the idea is if you have a Future Fins board, you put this on your board.
I do.
You turn it on. You have to
I have a couple
charge
boards
it.
myself.
You have to turn it on. You have to then go surfing, and this right now, the SmartFin's just collecting temperature data, okay, which is the temperature of the ocean. Important, and imagine if we had like 10,000 citizen scientists around the country collecting real-time ocean data. Temperature could be important, but the hope is that they can invent. They can come out with one that detects pH of the ocean, which has real implications with global
Salinity
I feel like that could
levels.
change everything if that does.
Yeah,
that.
dissolved
Like, that's-
oxygen,
Wow.
which could detect pollution and things. So, SmartFin could be really important, and we put this in the hands of, again, thousands of people, and they're collecting data. So, again, we piloted it with Scripps and the San Diego chapter of Surfrider Foundation. They spent about a year getting out the kinks. They got it to a point where they could offer it to staff people like me. So, I've actually made a couple rides in my SmartFin so far. But just this winter, got some very cold ocean data.
Yeah.
And so it's coming down the pike, but look for SmartFin. It could be really cool.
Wait, so like, you said that it collects all this stuff. Like, how is it like Wi-Fi or like?
Okay,
do
so
you plug it into something.
So the fin's collecting temperature data once you turn it on, and then you have an app on your phone after the fact. You get the data off the fin into your app, and then that's just uploaded to the web where all the data resides. So, and that's the way it'll work. I think again, even when it's collecting different data, if they come out with one that measures different ocean parameters.
Say that could like change a
mean,
lot.
yeah,
Like,
just
be
that-
really
that
cool.
could
It gives you a
change,
pretty
like,
good sample
salinity,
size, like you
Like
said.
that could change a lot.
You'll have a real reason to go surfing now.
Yeah.
None of
Yes.
this like it's just fun.
I just
stuff.
have more
It's
of a
like-
reason to go surf. But like since when I'm riding, like it's passing through it, the water of course, and helping me steer. So like how would that like that just picks it all just automatically? Like
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing. I didn't get a full briefing on it, but I think.
I'm not sure if you're like the scientist behind it.
Yeah, no,
so.
I'm definitely not. But I meant like this wire and this dark part at the end. I think that's where it's collecting the temperature data.
Oh, so it has like a little sensor down there. Or
Yeah,
It's like almost a little, like a
they've
little
somehow
mini
made this
computer
thing a
inside.
thermometer.
That's awesome.
And
Wow.
and there's definitely some electronics in there, so it's collecting that data, and then it knows enough to, Bluetooth enabled. You connect it to this app, and then you upload it, and and they've got a year's worth of data for a whole Surfrider chapter. I don't know how many fins, but imagine, could be cool.
Yeah.
So coming to a chapter near you soon.
Yeah, right. No, I definitely love to get one of those because that could definitely help with like currents and prediction of
Yeah, and you're just going out
foul
having
weather.
fun.
Yeah, I'm just
Here
going
you
to
are
exactly.
helping these national organizations go almost like obviously the fin is gonna come with a cost, but like it's going to be helping so much research be done because is there's only so many people you can have in so many places at one time, that if you get an organization like the Surf Rider organization to utilize something like this, like you're collecting simultaneous amounts of data at the exact same time, you know. So we'll just say from a psychological perspective, I mean, that's awesome because you're just doing so much work in so little time, and everybody's doing stuff that they love. Like, it's not like, oh, I have to go to the beach today, collect data
Oh, darn.
on the water, this is awful. No, you're going out, you're surfing, and, you know, maybe the data doesn't mean anything to you, but you're collecting it for somebody who it does mean a lot for.
Oh yeah,
You know,
killing two birds with one stone.
Yeah, you never know. It could, in turn, positively affect, you know, surfing conditions, or it may even help predict surfing conditions.
I was gonna say, I feel like it would definitely like.
About surfing. I know about TV surfing. Channel surfing.
I think they're thinking global warming, which is the big, you know, we're talking about offshore oil drilling. That's the big, you know, issue we're all facing. And Surfrider doesn't work on it directly, but yeah, we want to stop offshore oil drilling. Yeah, we want to, you know, we're on the receiving end of sea level rise that affects us where we live, right at the beach. So more data we can collect about the warming oceans, the better.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, I really, guys, definitely get on this if you're a surfer. Definitely get on it. All right,
Support the project.
support the project, support your oceans, support the environment. Be the solution, not the pollution. All right, I think that's all she wrote for this show. So,
Cool.
clankety clank.
Now go get another one.
Yeah.
Thanks
Here's
for
to
having us,
the
man.
drink where we talk about environmental solutions and problems over this couple last wave brewing drinks.
Yeah.
Again, thank you very much
Thanks
for
for
having us
stopping
on the
by,
show.
guys. Yeah, it's a good time.
Cool.
Thank you, Ken, for being on the show. Thanks, John.
Yep.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.